Alrighty, so broadly speaking, there's an input block. Then there are some assignments. If you're creating a whole bunch of things and setting them all to 0, I don't mind putting them in one rectangle. If there's some calculations mixed in, if there was whatever is equal to digits times 3, don't put that in the same block because that's a fundamentally different operation. Putting zeros in something is quite a bit different than doing a calculation. Then we have a for loop. The for loop is just like the while loop. It'll say for character and password rather than while x is less than 10. Then we stop the for loop there, and then we do some checks to see if it's a good password or not. There's quite a few little checks there. So I'm going to add some notes here, and I should have put my name up at the top of the program. Alright, so the comment here is going to be initialize counters. I don't care if you update yours to match. But when you turn in one for homework, go ahead and go back and add comments. And then count the various character types. Or update the counters, or whatever. Calculate the counters. Determine if password is good, and print any error messages. Good enough. So really that'd be just like 3 blocks, but obviously we're going to go into more detail than that. Alrighty, let's just put a little box over there with our name and date and stuff like that. What does every flowchart begin with? The terminal. Terminator. I wish I could do an Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. Let's put start there. What's the next thing we do? We get the password. So what shape is an input-output box in? The only reason I ask is because half the students swapped 2 of them, and the one they usually swapped was this one. Okay. It's called the data block, but it's the trapezoid, the tilted rectangle. So input password. And as always, my struggle is to get as much on the screen as possible while keeping it nice and large so y'all can see it. You don't have to worry about that. Now that we have the password, we need to initialize our counters. That's kind of a mathy thing, so we're going to put it in a process block. Since it's all just setting stuff to 0, it's okay to put it in the same one. Spaces is equal to 0. If you want to put multiple things in the same box, you just use Control-Enter, or Command-Enter if you're on a Mac. Uppers equals 0. Lowers is equal to 0. Digits is equal to 0. Specials is equal to 0. And could we have just said initialize counters? Yeah, that would technically be accurate, but if, really the purpose of designing a flowchart is to prepare it so that a programmer could work from it. And if you didn't list the counters, they'd have to go down further in the flowchart and try to figure out what the counters were. So it's kind of us to do that. If you want, you can make them left justified by clicking on this thing, align text. Whatever. I'm just going to leave them in the center. Alrighty. Now we have a for loop. For character and password. What symbol are loops used? What symbols represent loops? I didn't hear it. I heard a voice, but yeah. Same one as for if statements. Diamond. So, for character in password, and again, this leaves the specifics kind of open. A programmer in another language may not be able to word it like that, but they would know how to write something that did something similar. It's bugging me that I can't get that to line up. Whatever. Print the character, well, that's really unnecessary. I'm not going to print it out. I tend to make my loops always jut off to the right because that's the way we indent. So, first thing we do is an if statement. If it's a space, we add 1 to spaces. I should have made that if character dot is space parentheses in parentheses, because that function checks to see if it's a tab as well as a space. Right now our password calculator would let you enter a tab key as part of your password, which no one would ever guess, would they? But let's go ahead and do this. We'll draw it the exact same way that we coded it in class rather than get all clever. If char equals space, if that's true, we're going to increment a counter. That's math, so it's going to go in a process block, rectangle. Spaces plus equals 1. Or add 1 to spaces if you want to be all speaking English about it rather than make it look too computerized. Now every decision block, whether it's an if or for or while, needs both a no and a yes. So I drew a little circle to represent the end of my if statement, where it stops being indented. And now we're going to do another if. The next one in line was if character is upper. We could write the syntax exactly if it's over here, or we could just make it more English-like. If character is uppercase. So why didn't I make that if character is space? I don't know. I might go back and do that. I'm going to change that equal to an is. No, I'm not. Leave it alone. And if it's uppercase, we add 1 to uppers. So again, draw a box, square box, uppers plus equals 1. And then a circle. I'm just going to copy and paste that little circle. And it's okay if, when you do a flowchart in this class, if you use the Python syntax, if you wanted to use if character dot is upper, you know, or is upper equal true, if you wanted to do that, that's okay. But in general, you're making a flowchart that should be able to be implemented in any language. And so the more specific you get for a specific language, the less happy a Java programmer or a C# programmer or whatever is going to be with you. Alrighty, guess what the next one is? If not character is alnum. How are we going to word that? If character is not, I'm going to write the whole word out, numeric. If character is not alphanumeric. But I'm going to shrink this diamond a little bit and see if I can get all the words in it. Like that. And if that's not true, what are we incrementing? If it's not an alphabet or number character, what did we increment at that point? It's okay if you don't have the code in front of you, but maybe you remember. If it's not an alphabet or number, what is it? It's a special character, like punctuation. So we're going to increment specials. Again, I'm going to copy my little circle and paste it. You know, these things are so similar that I could be copying all of these blocks and pasting them, depending on how many more if blocks we have. Nope, that was actually the last one at this point, but then we're going to do some further. I may take advantage of that idea. Alrighty, so here's what I have. I'm going to put some color in them just to make them slightly more visible, because some of the lines are getting chopped off. Not that you can read that. I can't read that either. But that's the general shape of what we've drawn. This is the end of our for loop, so we're just going to draw a line coming back up here. Anytime you have a loop, either a while or a for loop, you eventually have a line coming back up to it. So, there we go. I like kind of hooking it up in the side. It doesn't matter where you put it. Alright, the next thing to do, we have all these checks. If the length of the password is less than 8, print an error message. If uppers is equal to 0, print an error message. All that kind of stuff. That's a lot of stuff, and I don't want to just try to squeeze it in here. I guess we could. Instead, I'm going to draw a line all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to pick back up down at the bottom. So I'm going to stretch a long line down here. Heck, I'm going to even make it go to the next page. And so at this point, determine if the password is good. Well, that's another if statement. No, it's not. There was something before it. We had a variable called isGood. IsGood equal true. That's a math assignment. I'm going to right click on that guy and do change shape. Change him to a rectangle. IsGood equals true. If we had done a pseudocode first, we probably would have had all these set words in front of everything. But we didn't, so I'm leaving them off. Just because I forgot. Alright, now we have an if. If the length of the password is less than 8, it's not good and we need to print an error message. This repeated isGood equals false and this repeated print, all of that stuff's going to be kind of annoying, so I think after I do one of these boxes, one of these little sets of ifs, I'm going to wind up copying and pasting it. If length of password, or if password length, however you want to word it, if password length is less than 8, then Then we print our error message and we set is good equal to false. So setting something to false is a math kind of thing, so that goes there. Then we need to print something. What kind of block does a print statement go in? Not a square. Tilted rectangle. Come on, guys. I know that half of y'all know this. And you're just being silent to taunt me. So what is our error message if the password is less than 8? Print. Password must be 8 or more in length. Yeah, we could have just made it super generic. Print error message, but it's nice to let the programmers coming along know what the error message is. Now that's going to go back into a little circle. All right, you see these things? We're going to be doing these over and over and over. If uppers is equal to 0, we're going to print an error message. If lowers is equal to 0 or whatever they were, I know that we're going to do like at least 3 more of these. So let's take advantage of copying and pasting. Highlight all 4 of those guys. The if statement, the print statement, the is good equals false, and the circle. Copy it. Scroll down a little bit and paste it. And then drag that pasting because it probably puts it right on top of what you just copied. Right there. And then just change this stuff. The next one is not password, the length, if it is if uppers is equal to 0. Because that's a bad state. If uppers equals 0. Is good, false, that's fine. But the error message changes. Print. Password must have uppercase letters. When I did the copy paste, it skipped drawing that line, so I'm going to put it there. That took a lot less time than drawing 4 shapes. We don't need these A's in the circle. It was my mistake to leave them. You could remove them and make it look pretty. All right, I'm going to zoom way back out now. That was page 1. This is page 2. We have a couple more error states to go. If specials is equal to 0, if spaces is equal to 0. So I'm going to paste again so that I can do the specials and the spaces. And am I going too fast? Is anybody tell me whoa Nelly, even though my name isn't Nelly. No one laughs at my jokes.
Thank you.
Alrighty, since I have 2 more error states, I'm going to paste that cluster of 4 things 2 more times. This one is if specials equals 0. So if specials equals 0, then print an error message. Password must include punctuation. Password must have a special character. And then the last one, if spaces is greater than 0. Can't have any spaces in it. Paste one more time. Draw the missing lines. Yep, if spaces is greater than 0. Print no spaces in password. Alright, this isn't part of a loop, so it doesn't need to go back up to anything. And if we wanted to, we could try to squeeze all this on one page. I don't see much reason to worry about that. We have one last statement which says print is the password good question mark, and we print out the value of that is good variable. So we're going to put one more print at the bottom and then one of those terminators. Print is password good plus is good. Then a terminator, an oval underneath it. Alright, so here's the entirety of my next page pretty much. Still can't fit it on one page unless I zoom out so far nobody can see it. Whatever. If you like these fancy themes they have, you can always click on that little thing over here, change theme. Some of them are pretty dumb looking. If you like curvy lines, you can go for it. Yeah, I'm going to leave it like that just because. Alright, we're done with our flowchart. Really, there wasn't anything new in this one that we haven't done before already. So it should have been reviewed, except for the fact that we had a for rather than a while. Yes, sir.
I'm having issues
With Lucidchart is malfunctioning? Okay, just a sec. Then we're going to work on modularizing this password program a little bit, grouping some stuff into functions. Now, I'm not expecting you to use what we do today as the basis for your homework. You can go ahead and use what we did on Tuesday because that was pretty clear. But I just want to give you a different idea of how you can approach things. So download as a PDF. If you gave it a name, if you did a file save, it gives it a nice name. Then you can do show in folder to find it, and then you can upload it. So we're going to write what is effectively the same password program, but using a different programming paradigm. Paradigm is one of those words that you got real sick of if you worked in a business like in the 80s and the 90s, because people started using it all the time. We have to do paradigm shifts. It just means a new idea, whatever. So do a file new. Go into idle, file new, name, date, password checker 2. Using functions. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a function called count spaces and write a function called count specials, stuff like that. The reason we're going to do that is because it's going to make the main part of our program much simpler. There's not going to be a great big for loop with a whole bunch of if statements in it. So, define count underscore spaces. And it takes a string parameter. We will pass in a string. We will be passing in the password. So we need a counter. X is equal to 0. We're kind of giving it a generic name to make it easy to type and to copy and to paste. And then we need a for loop for char in S for every character in that string. If X dot is space, parentheses in parentheses, X plus equals 1, and then back tab a couple of places and do return X. And let's do a save as and call it password F for some password with functions. So password F. Let's see, along with spaces, we counted specials. So define count underscore specials. And I'm just going to put a comment that means punctuation marks. Same thing. Copy all this stuff. Copy these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. I'm using a shift down arrow to highlight them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Copy, paste, and change is space. We need to change this line. That's the only line that needs to change is the if statement. If not char dot is alnum, meaning alphanumeric, letters and numbers. Now, I've forgotten what else we checked for. You'd think that after having flowcharted. Somebody tell me. Well, here we go. Spaces, uppers, lowers, and digits. We didn't even actually do lowers. We just did specials and uppers and spaces. We've done spaces. We've done specials, so let's count the uppercase letters. Paste those 5 lines again. Call this one define count underscore uppers, parentheses S in parentheses semicolon. I'm going to put a comment uppercase letters. So instead of X dot is space, we're changing that line to X dot is upper. Now we've defined a whole bunch of functions, but they don't do anything. Why? There is no unindented code in this thing at all. Everything is indented except for the definitions. It's like you write a dictionary with a whole bunch of definitions in it, but you haven't actually written a paper. So now, underneath all that, we need to declare our counters. Uppers is equal to 0. Specials is equal to 0. Spaces is equal to 0. We didn't even actually need those lines, because the very next thing we're going to do is this. Well, first we need to ask for the password. Password equals input. What is the new password? Uppers is equal to count underscore uppers. Spaces, well, I guess I'll do them in the same order that they're defined here. Specials is equal to count underscore specials. Spaces is equal to count underscore spaces. Now I'm going to slam this code to the side so that it can share the screen with this other password program. Which do you like better? Do you like counting them like that, or do you like counting them like that? Especially if we just deleted these lines. We could even delete those 3 lines because we're just doing them here. So do we like doing it like that, or do we like doing it like that?
The function is better.
I like the functions better. I hope you see how the functions are really doing the same thing as our code did on Tuesday. It's just a for loop and it's checking character by character, but instead it's only checking for one thing at a time. This one is going to go through the entire string looking for spaces. This one's going to go through the entire string looking for special characters, uppercase letters. We could write another one for lowercase letters. We could write another one for digits. All right, if you can find your old password program, copy everything from this is good equals true all the way down to the bottom, at least to the last print statement. And then try it out. I haven't tried it out. Mine may not work. Invalid syntax. I forgot a colon there. What's the new password? I'm going to type in all lowercase. See if it yells at me about that. It blew up. I think I forgot to put the string in when I called the counters. You see here where it says count uppers, count specials, and count spaces? We need to put the password between those parentheses.
Every one of them.
Every one of them. Otherwise it doesn't know what it's counting in. And that was my mistake. I apologize. All right, I've made a lot of mistakes.
You're human.
Yay. All righty. You see where it says x.isSpace and x.isUpper? That needs to be character.isSpace and character.isUpper. So copy that char string, and where it says x.isSpace, paste it there. And where it says x.isUpper, make that char.isUpper. What's the new password? A, B, C, D. It yells at me, must be 8 or more characters, must have at least one uppercase, must have at least one non-letter symbol. Is the password good, false? Okay, so now it works. You could use this code as the basis for your assignment, or you could use Tuesday's code. It's up to you. All right, do I need to scroll up or down or print this out for anybody?
Stay right there.
I might be able to eyeball it. All right. Sure thing. I'll make a Dropbox for this one. We're going to make it a separate Dropbox.
Well, it just said it would not
It
reload.
wasn't doing it all out.
This site can't be reached.
Call it back later. Maybe.
Why in the world not? Well, I was gonna turn it in, but it won't let me.
What's it doing?
Rose State won't let me in.
That would be a problem.